Salutations, everybody. It is Matty here today, sitting down to talk about High on Life, the last Xbox exclusive of 2022, and one of my most anticipated games of the year. When this game was shown off at the Xbox and Bethesda showcase during the summer, it immediately shot near the top of my list. I was so excited for High on Life because it seemed so different from anything else we've seen in gaming. It was all in on the raunchy humor, talking guns. It kind of gave me Oddworld Stranger's Wrath vibes, but you're also a bounty hunter in this futuristic world that reminds me of the Outer Worlds. It was scratching a lot of Matty itches, but at the same time, it just looked so unique. So I was very excited for High on Life. And what I gotta say here today is it's kind of a whole bag of just okay. There's nothing that really exceeded my expectations with High on Life, and I'm going to dig into that. But the real answer to this game is Game Pass, because this humor is all over the place. As someone who loves raunchy humor, I got a lot of laughs out of this game. It is truly hilarious to me. But for me, I think if you just sizzle in an F-bomb every now and then, things are just generally a little bit funnier. I don't know, call me an easy target. I'll happily take it. Laughing's good for you. But a lot of people don't like Justin Roiland's humor, and you're gonna see a lot of that here. I've never watched Rick and Morty. I barely watch TV as it is. I'm not gonna watch Rick and Morty, but apparently it's a lot like that show. But I thought this was kind of funny. But given that your mileage may vary on the humor, there are going to be some people who turn this game on and go, nope, off in 15 minutes because no one shuts up in this game. And there will also be people who really get drawn to this game. So it's a big taste thing, and Game Pass is going to be your best friend on this one to truly feel it out. But I have plenty of thoughts on this. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are new here, you're into brand new game reviews, consider subscribing. Certainly, we're going to be very busy in 2023, so we have many more on the way and coming soon. So keep your eyes peeled for that. With that, ladies and gentlemen, let's dive in. I got to give this game some props for its opening moments. You're playing this almost Doom clone, and it's hilarious when they tell you to double jump, and you can't double jump, so they're like, oh, just crouch, just crouch. That was a strong opening to me because it was self-aware, but it was fun. It was a nice throwback, and I was thinking, man, if this is what I'm in for, this is going to be great. Like, this introductory section to the game is phenomenal from top to bottom as far as I'm concerned. You see the camera slowly peeling out. You realize you're the main character playing this game and how it leads into this alien invasion. The first 15 minutes of High on Life are absolutely insane, but I love the tone it sets for itself. It's goofy, it's fun, it's creative. But eventually they start to lean on the crutch known as writing in an unhealthy way. Hey, just a word of the wise to all video game writers, to all video game designers, developers, whatever. Do not use your writing to call out your own missing game mechanics. It does not prevent you from getting the smoke like you're about to get it right now. So at first when this game starts, they tell you like, oh man, crap, we don't have a double jump. Haha, funny. I got a good laugh out of it. Then as you get deeper into the game, there are moments it's constantly calling itself out for lazy design or repetitive objectives or this over here isn't right. It's doing it frequently enough where I'm starting to realize they're calling it out in this almost self-conscious way, and they think because if they do call it out that it won't be that bad of a thing. Sometimes they do it in a good tongue-in-cheek way. Like there's a part in the game where you have the option to stab a character if you click the right stick, and the HUD is telling you that. When you do it, the guy's like, what, do you listen to everything the UI tells you to do? That type of stuff I adore. Like that's the good fourth wall breaking self-awareness that this game thrives off of. But when it's constantly throwing in your face, we don't have this art asset, yeah, it's leftover, whatever. When they whatever away so many things in the game, I personally as a critic can only tolerate so much. But this is where I get back to the humor. Your mileage may vary. You may find this type of stuff to be absolutely hilarious, and I'm crazy talk for it. But again, that's the problem when you lean all in on comedy with video games. It's very different. You're not just watching a comedy flick that's 2 hours, you get a couple of chuckles, and those go a long way. You're playing like a 10+ hour video game here. And when you're playing a 10+ hour video game where the main gun never shuts up and talks in that Rick and Morty voice the whole game, yeah, you might lose your patience a little bit. What I will say is, while I like raunchy humor, I've never watched Rick and Morty. I mean, y'all know I barely watch TV as it is. I'm not going to sit down and watch Rick and Morty in my spare time, that's for sure. But I enjoyed it. I liked how the game at times got really playful. Like I was doing paperwork at one point and my boss came out and cursed me out. I mean, this game is up there with like Conker's Bad Fur Day in the terms of just grotesque language. I mean, the amount of F-bombs dropped in this game must break some type of world record. It is insane. Like there was this part in the game where these characters were all in a car accident and they were just cursing each other out. And actually at certain points, the audio is just going to start looping. People dropping F-bombs, F you this, F you that, just cursing each other out endlessly. You could stand there for hours and it'll just keep looping, keep looping, keep looping until you just walk away. That's the type of game. That's the type of humor. And at times it lands, but at times it's a little annoying. Like there's this one character that was flying around following me, and at times they were legitimately blocking my vision. I'm like, nah, bro, look, y'all can do your jokes to the side. Do not interrupt the player. So even for me, who I think could have been a target audience for this humor, because I like this type of humor, I think it's pretty funny, it missed on me sometimes. So again, it'll differ from person to person. Why this is a big deal is because I found the gameplay to be really disappointing here. And since it was disappointing, that makes the writing receive a lot of the focus, which is why I started off with it. So when it comes to gameplay here, this is where the whole bag of okay kind of surfaces again. It just doesn't feel good to play, and it kind of designs itself like Doom in the way that enemies spawn in and they're throwing tons of them at you and you're shooting a lot of them. But imagine Doom except you have one weapon and it feels like you got cement glued to your feet. You're not going to get Doom out of Squanch games, but I was hoping for more creativity from the weapons and getting some more a little bit faster in the game. I think this was the drawback of having them animated and constantly talking, is that you can't just pepper the player with tons of weapons. What I will say is as you finally start to fill out your arsenal and they're all looking at you, talking, saying different things and reacting to the story in different ways depending on which weapon you have out, which was pretty cool. What you'll start to recognize if you're an Oddworld fan is, just like I've been saying for a while, the Oddworld Stranger's Wrath vibes here are strong. For those who have never played Oddworld Stranger's Wrath, this is a game where as you're holding your crossbow as the stranger, you're going to see the fuzzles kind of looking around. You're going to see the slugs wiggling around. The only difference here is I think the chipmunk is the only ammo that talks to you, and they're very quick and done. This game, your guns will talk to you the whole time. But back to my original point, when you start to fill out your arsenal, you get some diversity there, but I don't think the enemy types are strong enough to really justify a large arsenal because you're not going to tackle them very differently. Like you have a shotgun that also serves as a vacuum. You have the pistol, the most famous pistol on planet Earth, it seems, because I'm seeing this thing everywhere on Twitter, who's always talking to you. He's got this nice semi-auto shot and a glob shot. So where this game, I think, thrives and what I would have loved to see more of is honestly less shooty and more of the light puzzle solving. So there are points in the game where you're going to see, for example, bridges that you can bounce the glob shot off the wall or bounce it off a mushroom and hit something in the distance and knock it over to explore more of the location. I loved that. I loved seeing more of that from this game, this kind of unique creative exploration, because that felt to me like an evolution of what we've seen from Stranger's Wrath, where you had these creative animated weapons, but now it's like, okay, you can solve puzzles with them. And there are puzzles, like you can shoot pipes and rotate certain pieces. I've never said this before, but I do wish there were more, because I think it would have broken up some of the monotony of pretty boring first-person shooting. You know, the first boss fight with Nine Torg is great because you're swinging around and it's a little bit more locomotive and it feels like you're making use of all your assets. But as I got deeper in the game, the boss fights just felt less and less full of mechanics and more just, hey, this is a spongy enemy, shoot away, avoid the big attacks, and that was kind of it. So I didn't have a tremendous amount of fun as I got deeper into the game, and then as you get frustrated, the laughs start to wear off. So this game can cascade extremely quickly, unfortunately. And I found that to be a bummer because I was one of the people rooting for High on Life. And there are surprises here, like searching around the little hub areas and finding chests and going to the storefront and getting upgrades is a ton of fun. I also kind of love the multi-planet exploration aspect of it. I went on media blackout, so I didn't expect this for the game. But when you're, for example, getting your bounties, you're going to select them on a list, and then you're going to go through a portal. It's going to transport you to another planet. This, again, kind of reminded me of the Outer Worlds and reminded me of KOTOR. You know, I love the multi-planet traveling. That is always awesome to me. So there were things with this game I could get behind. Another one I could get behind was actually the music. There is one track in this game on the third planet I went to that is absolutely horrendous. I don't know what happened on this track, and I try to be pretty nice with my criticism so that I don't really hurt any creatives because I know how hard it is. But whatever happened with this track, I'm not sure, because the rest of the game is a chill lo-fi. And ever since I started playing League of Legends back in 2020, lo-fi has been my grind. It's just a great background track when you're playing a game that doesn't demand a lot of attention. And this game, I feel like that was a perfect fit. Like, it just works with lo-fi. So when you're walking around exploring, it does just have its own vibe. I just think it's so inconsistent, and the jokes kind of harm the game, not because they're not funny, because as I said, I was laughing. It just harms the game because you start to see them calling themselves out almost to excuse things. Man, I mean, the game is off the chain. I can't show it, but they even have like a full movie in the game, full shows in the game that you can just watch, and the achievement's called "We paid for the rights for this." Or when you shoot a kid in the game, or I put in quotes a kid, but it's a 30-year-old, I put in quotes again, you get an achievement called "Fallout Can't Do This." I love that type of stuff. Like when they do that kind of nudging of people in the industry and whatnot, other IP, calling them out, that's hilarious. There's this one unlock you can get where you can spawn in this small village almost and then just step on it, and it's hands down one of the funniest moments here, because it reminded me of actually Borderlands 3, which I thought was an anti-funny video game. But there was this one mission that you went on in Borderlands 3 where this guy had all these records and mini games set up in memory of his daughter, and you would just go through and smash all these records. He's like, I guess all my memories of my daughter are gone now because she had passed. And it was just like morbid but hilarious. This game had a moment kind of like that, which I did dig. So it's a very inconsistent experience, and that makes me so sad because I think there's a lot here to love with High on Life. It's gonna hit for a lot of people, but for someone like me who was big on the game in the first place and then dove into it and knew I was gonna like the humor, there's just a lot here that doesn't click together and made it not as fun as I think it should have been. I think they need to clean up the gameplay, add more mechanics, add more enemy types to demand the different weapons being used in a creative manner. And I know that people don't like the heavily talkative guns. I actually didn't mind that. I kept it on default. I thought it was fine, but save the writing for not calling out things missing in your game so frequently. It feels like every turn it's another, here's a repetitive objective, dock a point from us. And I'm just like, what if after that you did something really cool instead to kind of wow the player and wow the press and make them feel called out? Isn't the idea to make them feel called out, but instead you kind of reinforce the criticism that they should give you? And I'm the last to defend modern video game press, so come on now. But anyway, ladies and gentlemen, those are just my thoughts on High on Life, a game that you should at least check out on Game Pass, see if you're about. But for me, I just thought it was okay. So I leave it in your hands now. What do you think of High on Life? Fire away down below. Other than that, follow me on Twitter, follow me on Instagram. Those links are in the description down below. And a big thank you to all the patrons, all the members who continue to support the hell out of the content here. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.